Welcome back to Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms, your guide to the first 5 issues of your Mortal Realms subscription. I'm James.
And I'm Esme. In this episode, we'll be looking at everything that comes in the 2nd issue of Mortal Realms. That means we'll be gazing deeper into the dark creatures of the NIGHTHAUNT, including the terrifying MYRMOURN Banshees.
And I'll be building these models that come with issue 2. And taking you through the first steps of painting your NIGHTHAUNT models.
Then we will play a game which will incorporate new rules and all of your new models.
First, let's take a look at the awesome Warhammer miniatures that you get with issue 2. There are 4 new models to add to your NIGHTHAUNT horde, MYRMOURN Banshees. We'll be learning all about who they are in a minute.
You also get your first paint, Corax White. This is a great base colour for your NIGHTHAUNT models. They're ghosts, after all. There's also a brush for you to use, and we'll be looking at painting and brush care later in this episode. First, let's see what you'll learn about the Mortal Realms in issue 2.
In the last video, we mentioned NAGASH, Warhammer Age of Sigmar's terrifying god of death. It's time to learn more about him. Known as the great necromancer, NAGASH is the lord of Shyish, the sinister realm of death. He rules the underworlds of the mortal realms and commands all dead souls, including the NIGHTHAUNT.
When Sigmar, the god of the heavens, started making his Stormcast Eternals, he stole the souls of brave heroes from NAGASH's grasp to forge his warriors. Needless to say, NAGASH isn't happy about this and has sworn to take back all those souls. This feud has led to the Soul Wars, a long and bitter struggle between the armies of the God King and the God of Death.
NAGASH had planned to conquer all the mortal realms with the power of death, but his schemes went wrong and led to a terrible calamity called the Necroquake. Uncontrollable death magic spread across the realms, wreaking havoc everywhere and even causing the dead to rise. It wasn't all bad for NAGASH though. While he had failed to conquer the living, he did create lots of new armies to carry out his plans.
Now, those armies clash with the forces of order, chaos and destruction across all the mortal realms. These battles ensure that there is a constant flow of fresh souls back to Shyish, where NAGASH once again gathers their power for his schemes.
Among NAGASH's NIGHTHAUNT hordes are creatures known as MYRMOURN Banshees. In life, these were women who sought out magical power and practiced the arcane arts. Upon their deaths, they were cursed with an eternal thirst for magic.
They are driven to seek out magical energy and feed upon it, and any of the living who stand in their way will feel the points of their chill daggers and hear their infernal screams.
In issue 2, you'll be able to find out more about NAGASH, the Soul Wars, and the MYRMOURN Banshees. And you also get a set of your own to build and paint. Let's take a look at them now. It's time to build your MYRMOURN Banshees. For this, you will need your sprue and clippers. Like your chain rasps from issue 1, the MYRMOURN Banshees come in several parts each, which you need to push together to build them. Parts 1, 2, 3 and 4 build one model, parts 5 to 8 make a second, the third uses 9 to 12, and the last Banshee is made from parts 13 to 16. Let's start with those last 4 parts, which build model 1, as shown in your magazine. Start by clipping them out of the sprue. Remember that we use the flat side of the clippers and get them as close to the model as we can. Looking at the magazine, we start with parts 11 and 12. Carefully line up the pegs and sockets and push the 2 components together, applying gentle pressure until the 2 parts are sitting flush with each other. Next, we take part 10 and follow the same process. We now have an almost completed MYRMOURN Banshee. It just needs to go into its base. You'll see it has 2 pegs. Just line them up with the holes on the base and your first Banshee is ready to steal some souls. All that remains now is to follow the step-by-step instructions in your magazine and put together your other 3 MYRMOURN Banshees. When you're done, you'll have a unit of 4 fantastic MYRMOURN Banshees ready to haunt the living. But first, let's put some paint on them. Now that your MYRMOURN Banshees are built, it's time to get both them and your chain rasps looking a little spookier with some paint. Grab the Corax White paint and the brush you got with issue 2 and let's get started.
Painting your models is one of the most rewarding parts of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar hobby. Don't worry if this sounds a little intimidating. Painting your models is really good fun and will help you along the way.
Before we get started, there are a few more things we'll need. First up, water. We use water to thin our paint, helping it flow better. It will also help to keep your brush clean and in good condition. Grab a mug or glass and fill this with cold water. It's also a good idea to protect your work surface and keep some paper towels nearby.
It's also handy to have a palette. This is used to thin your paints with water. For this, we can use a plate.
There's one other thing that you'll want in your painting area: light to see the models clearly. Natural light is best, so if you can paint during the day near a window, that's perfect. Otherwise, a desk lamp works well.
Right, time to leave you to paint your night haunts. Have fun.
Let's get started. Grab your pot of Corax White and give it a shake. Before using any of your paints, always give them a shake. Remember to make sure the lid is secure. It's important that the paint is nicely mixed together. You open your pot by pushing the lid back carefully. If you're opening it for the first time, it might require a bit of pressure as there's a seal to be broken. Push the lid back until it clicks on the tab at the back of the pot. This helps the pot to stay open so that you can use it easily. Sit the pot down somewhere in reach where you're not going to accidentally knock it over, and get your brush. Hold your brush between your thumb and forefinger like this. There's an illustration in the magazine if you want a reminder at any point. Use the reservoir of paint on the inside of the lid and load the bristles with paint like so. Be careful not to get any on or near the ferrule. That's the metal part that holds the bristles, as this can ruin your brush over time. Using your brush, transfer some of the paint to your plate or palette and add a drop of water to thin it slightly like this. Today we are going to use our new Corax White paint to undercoat the MYRMOURN Banshees and chain rasps. An undercoat is the first step in painting a model. This provides a nice base for other paints to stick to. White is the perfect undercoat for the night haunts because of their ghostly, ethereal nature. Start by painting a thin coat of your watered down Corax White over the entire model. Don't worry that the plastic shows through at first. We'll be giving it more coats once this one is dry. It's better to paint on several thin coats than to apply paint too thickly and risk obscuring the details. Because they're so detailed, our models have some recesses and difficult to reach parts. You may need to hold the models at different angles to make sure you cover them all. You will find that it is usually easier to rotate the model than your brush to paint all those hard to reach places. Once your first model has a coat of Corax White applied to it, it should look something like this. Set it aside to dry while you apply the first coat of paint to your other 3 MYRMOURN Banshees. Now is a good time to clean your brush. You want to do this regularly to stop paint drying into the bristles. Once you've put a single coat on each of the 4 Banshees, the first should be dry enough for a second coat. You'll see that after this second coat, there's much less grey plastic visible. A third coat should see the models fully covered and looking great, not to mention spectral and terrifying. Just remember to clean your brush often. With all 4 Banshees undercoated, it's time to move on to the chain rasps. These come on coloured plastic, but that doesn't change how you paint them. Just build the paint up in layers the same way. Like the Banshees, these have lots of recesses, so be careful to make sure you fully covered the models, even the bits under their robes. Remember to thin your paint and clean your brush regularly, and you'll have a horde of white chain rasps in no time.
James, these are looking great. I can't wait to start painting my Stormcast Eternals in the next video.
Thanks, and I'm looking forward to adding a ghostly glow to all of these Nighthaunts, which I'll be doing in video 4.
But for now, shall we play a game?
Yep, definitely. I want to try out my MYRMOURN Banshees.
Last time, our intrepid sequitors ventured into an ancient temple and were attacked by chain rasps. They fought off the restless spirits, but the temple holds more horrors for the warriors of Sigmar.
That's right, because with a terrifying howl, a group of MYRMOURN Banshees appear.
Remember how we played last time, taking it in turns to move our models into base contact and fight? We're going to do the same again, but this time the sequitors will be fighting the 4 MYRMOURN Banshees.
So get out your battle mat and make sure your dice and range ruler are handy. You'll want a coin or other marker as well for when the sequitors are wounded, if they survive that long.
I'm sure they will. Sigmar will protect them. First, we need to get our models onto the battle mat. The Stormcast Eternals are placed on the lightning bolts, and the MYRMOURN Banshees go on the nearest skull to the sequitors. You can see this layout in your magazine.
As we mentioned earlier, the Banshees have ambushed the sequitors, which means they get to fight first this time around.
Let's see if I remember. First you pile in with your MYRMOURN Banshees up to 3 inches, right?
Yep, that's right. I want them to end up in base contact with the sequitors so that they can attack.
What type of weapons do the Banshees have?
They use chill daggers that let them roll 1 dice each to attack.
So that's 3 dice then?
Yep, looking at the magazine, the Banshees need to roll a 4 or more to hit. So let's see how we get on.
Okay, so you get 2 hits, and each of my sequitors can take 2 damage before they die, so...
Hold on a minute. Remember those chill daggers? They do extra damage.
So what does that mean?
What it means is that for each hit, I roll a dice and consult the D3 table in the magazine to see how much damage it does. I scored 2 hits, so I roll 2 dice. Whoa, that is 2 dead sequitors.
This doesn't look very good for me. However, I still have 1 sequitor left, so let's see what they can do.
Those MYRMOURN Banshees are deadly. No wonder they're so feared. The Nighthaunts will rule the realms.
Perhaps. Luckily for me, Sigmar's reinforcements are on their way. With issue 3, you'll get a set of castigators who use gigantic bows to attack their enemies from a distance. They also come with a Gryph-hound, a faithful companion that's half bird and half dog.
You will also get a new paint, Retributor Gold, to start painting the Stormcast Eternals.
And in the next video, I'll be showing you how to start painting them as well as how to build your castigators.
You'll also have another game to play where you'll use ranged weapons for the first time.
There's also lots more to learn about the mortal realms. You'll find out about storm hosts and Nighthaunt processions and discover what castigators do. We'll be delving into all of that and more.
And remember, if you haven't subscribed to Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms yet, you can do so on the website and get regular deliveries of models, paints, scenery and magazines, as well as awesome subscription gifts. Check it out and we'll see you soon for our next video.